G'day guys, welcome back to another video with Eno from Fantasy Take TV. Today we'll be doing the second installment of Rate Your Team. So the first one I went to Discord this time. I took to Twitter, as I said on a few videos that I'll be doing this one on Twitter. George retweeted it for me, so unfortunately there's about 30 or 40 teams in the replies, and I ain't got that much time to go through all of those. So I think I picked about 12, something like that. So if I didn't get to yours, I'm sorry, but those that I don't get to, I will reply with a comment on the tweet. So if you don't follow me on Twitter already, head over there, NOFTTV. And as I've said a lot of times before, a lot of the Supercoach followers that, not just me, but you know the other boys in FTTV, as it comes to a close and sort of winds down. With the last month of the season, FPL is about to sort of pick up, and hey, George is even trying. He's been studying today for about an hour, he reckons, trying to figure out who to put in his team and trying to learn the game. So good to see. And that starts in less than 2 weeks now. So you got to get cracking. There's a couple more important preseason games to go, and then we kick off on I think the 6th of August for us, technically over here in Australia. Which will be about 5 a.m. So unfortunately the first deadline is at I think 3:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning, but then there's a big window of games on that Saturday night. So looking forward to it, and let's get to a few teams. I've pretty much just sort of tabbed across about 12. I haven't really looked into them at all too deeply. A couple I sort of saw some big changes, so I threw them in, but really haven't really gone over them too much at all. So we'll it'll be sort of a not a first reaction, but an initial reaction, I guess, so to speak. The first person here is Gunners _ SC. Had to get the man in. He was one of the first to reply. He left a little comment saying he's basing most of his picks off minutes, so he thinks everyone in his team can comfortably or will get 70 to 90 minutes except for Haaland. So he's still tossing between Haaland and Payne. He says doesn't really want to book in an early transfer but for those two. And then he's still tossing up, he says, between Diaz, that's Ruben Diaz in defence, and James, or Cancelo and another 5 million defender. So, and then he says Bailey's the only unknown in his team currently. So, yeah, he's got the 5 at the back, the 5-3-2, which is a formation I've been toying with a lot and probably have had the most part of this preseason. The keepers, I'll say it at the start with this first team before. I don't want to talk about them for too much because they are a bit of a boring position to talk about. But keepers are mostly always been 4.5 and just forget about it and try and assess who the best one is. Get lucky, so to speak, with how, because generally they're from sort of mid to lower table teams, and get lucky with how they perform. Hopefully they improve, and with teams like that, if they manage to get clean sheets, generally the keeper's still making a few saves throughout the game, which means they can push into bonus points and actually get some quite big hauls. Whereas with a keeper like Edison, playing for City, they rarely concede shots or any chances at all. So really his ceiling kind of sits at 6, where he just gets a clean sheet, gets the played minutes, and rarely features in bonus points because obviously they're scoring a lot of goals and a lot of other players are getting those. So yes, there is a higher ceiling with lower keepers, and that can obviously make them better value throughout the season. But one reason I am kind of warming to the Edison pick is to one, you want a double City defence. So if we just park Cancelo for a second, who Gunners here doesn't actually own, if we pick him, then the second one is either sort of your Diaz or Edison, and Edison obviously is cheaper, so you can lock in another City defender. Get to have a look at who the other best 4.5 keeper is, because I think we'll be wildcarding fairly early, game week 6 to 9, somewhere in that range, and then you can sort of jump on the team, whether it's Raya, whether it's Sanchez, there might even be a Palace keeper, whether it's Johnson wins the job over there or whoever, and jump on one of the better performing teams that the data tells us up until then, and figure it out then. And then also you'll be jumping off Edison, opening up a City spot to get your third City player in, which we also probably need some data for to see who that is. Is it Mahrez? Is he getting minutes? Is it Foden? And what have you. So that's the reason I'm warming to the Edison pick. That's the last thing I'll say in the keepers this video. But I am still leaning towards going a 4.5. If you can use that extra million between Edison and a 4.5 well enough, then I would always lean towards doing that. So yeah, anyway, back to the team. He's got the 5 at the back. He's got a lot of the big boys there, and then Gabriel, who I do like, and I did see a stat that in our first 2 fixtures, the Gunners playing Palace and Leicester, they were the 2 worst teams against set pieces last season, and Gabriel has quite a good threat against set pieces, but I still think Zinchenko is the one I would rather go at 5 million from Arsenal. There is still a bit to be seen with Tierney. Is he healthy? Because right now Zinchenko will be covering left back, and then if he's fit, I would like to know, is Zinchenko pretty much locked into playing midfield there? But honestly, I think Zinchenko might even just outplay Tierney for a left back spot, just as it is. So he's quite attacking, gets up the pitch a lot, great passer. So I do like Zinchenko. Rest of the team, I think we talk about Leon Bailey, who I did look at quite early at 5 million when I just first saw the prices and thought, look, if he's fit and gets into the team, could be a great pick. He started a couple of games in preseason and didn't start the most recent one, but however came on at half time. And Fick, one of my good mates, is a massive Villa fan, and he said he absolutely turned the game and was just electric. Scored a goal, could have scored a couple more. And then at the end of the game, post-match, Stevie G actually said he's one of the players fighting for a position in the 11, and he said he's putting his hand up and telling me that he needs to be in here. So Stevie knows that Bailey, he's putting his hand up. He was injury riddled a lot of last year. So I do like the Bailey pick. If he starts between Neto and him, if the 0.5 can sort of help you out, then I don't mind going down. But this Gunners team, mate, I do like this structure the most at this current point in time. 4-4-2 is the only other one I'm really looking at. And then whether you drop, because the value you get with going 4-4-2 is you can get obviously an extra mid in, but that 5th defender that you'll have on your bench won't be someone like a Plange or De Silva might play, but it'll be Nico Williams at this point in time, who will be a pretty good bench option if he needs to come on. So overall, I like the structure. There's not much more to be said. Obviously, up for debate. Kane, Haaland. I guess we'll still see. If Haaland plays next game, the 8 million mid in Saka, obviously could be, there's a number of options there, but overall the structure I do like. I'll try not to spend as many on most teams now, but there's a few things I wanted to get out there. We got Josh here. I wish I could zoom in a bit more, but his screenshot. So he's got Dean Henderson in goal, who honestly I don't hate, but I think I'd just wait on it. Kind of like I said with the Edison strategy. Forest is definitely a team I just want to wait and see how they go. To begin with, the 5-3-2 I like. It's like the team before. He's got Zinchenko instead of Gabriel. Perisic is one who he just featured in the most recent preseason game for Spurs and played quite well. Only half an hour, I believe. So would want to see more to go ahead and pick him for game week 1. And then again, he's got Foden instead of Saka, who Gunners had, and then he's got obviously Jesus and Haaland, which is the same as him. So it's tough. It's hard to pinpoint at the moment. I think a lot is starting to switch to Kane because of just the known quantity that he is in the Prem, whereas Haaland, he's only played the half a game, did score a goal, but Pep has mentioned a few times that they are managing him. At this point in time, and with less than 2 weeks to go, is that something you really want to hear about 11.5 million striker that you'll be picking? Probably not. So it is still a bit of a question. But this team also has a Leon Bailey on the bench, so the fact that he doesn't have that Robertson, you probably instead of Perisic, he's able to spread that money onto Martinelli from Bailey on field, but then actually swing Bailey to the bench and have actually pretty good cover with him at bench 1. So if you want some depth pieces, I guess it maybe is something to think about with a team that has Foden in it, that has, maybe a risky player or two for minutes, or that might not start, especially City players. Maybe it pays to have someone good on the bench as an option. Next we got Scotty. Scotty's again got the 5-3-2. I probably should have looked and not done too many 5-3-2s, but Scotty's got a couple of different picks here, which we can go over, and one of them is Luis Diaz, who wasn't in previous teams, who's quite highly owned, and then Trippier as the 5 million option, who again I was looking at is quite highly owned, and for someone who barely played at all last season and was injured, you're quite surprised that sort of managers are able to pick that up and see that he's a good option. So I think he is a good option. I just don't like those two fixtures in there. What are they? Game week 3 and 5 with City and Liverpool. So it's just something that you want a good option to rotate him with. I like going with him if you've got in the last team, Josh had an option like Bailey on the bench that you can bring on and rotate him with. Here, you don't want to really be bringing on Andreas or someone like that in those weeks, so you're probably just going to end up playing Trippier against City and Liverpool, and let's be honest, you're probably not going to get anything from him. So that's just the one thing I would say there, and then the rest of the team, is pretty standard and pretty solid. I can't really pick any holes in it. I like the formation. Raya, I guess, at this point looks like the best 4.5, but we don't really know. I think Brentford have a couple of new centre-backs come in and that they've never really played with or played together. So it's something that we need to maybe still monitor over the next couple of weeks. But again, formation, I do like it. Next, finally, a different one. We got the break-evens pod. He says it's pretty stock, but I don't think it's too stock that he thinks. I mean, 4-4-2, it is a pretty stock standard formation, but I think a couple of players like Trippier we just spoke about, one like Jared Bowen, who you don't see in many teams, who had a massive season last year, was outstanding. He's 8.5 million this year. I just don't think I would start with him with the early fixtures. You get City in game week 1. You could say he scored twice late in the season last year, but he's someone I'd probably avoid just to begin with. I can totally see him being in our teams for a good West Ham run at some point, no doubt. But I think to begin with, he's someone I'd stay away from or just avoid. And then maybe you could use that 0.5 on. I mean, if you like Bailey, obviously keep him, but maybe up to Neto, someone like that. That's not the worst idea in the world to hold 0.5 in the bank to start the year. Big players or big highly owned players, like a Jesus. Let's say, for instance, he doesn't fire at the start of the year with a massive ownership. If people start jumping off, he's going to drop in cash, and then it might affect you making transfers later on if you might need some cash in the bank, which most people probably won't have. So having 0.5 in the bank isn't a bad strategy. So that's something I might consider. And then the rest of the picks I have no problem with. It'd be nice to have Cancelo. Every team I sort of see without him, I'm a little bit concerned just because of what we know he can do. Still yet to see if they sign Cucurella, but I still don't think that affects him too much. Even if they do, he can play both sides, and I think they'll just rotate between Cucurella and Walker. And Cancelo can just move across. So I think, the Kane versus Haaland thing, I'm not going to spend too much on. That's probably up to each individual to monitor. But overall, I think it's not as stock, but I guess mostly the formation and most of the players are. But that Bowen pick, maybe something to think about. Next, we've got Benny SC00. He's got the 4-3-3, which you don't see too many of. So this is a no Salah team, and he's got 2 premium strikers and still has the triple Liverpool. So if you were to do a no Salah, this is absolutely what you would do. You would get the 3 other Liverpool options. You'd get Kane, you'd get Haaland. Maybe you could argue you get maybe a KDB or a Son. Instead, but you'd have any 2 of those, one City, one Liverpool, whether it's Son, KDB, Kane or Haaland, you'd have one of each. And then you'd fill out the team with the rest, which I think looks really good. But you don't have Mo Salah, who tends to start the seasons brilliantly, has Fulham game week 1. If you think, the other 3 Liverpool assets can cover off, and I mean, the 2 big boys up top have to hit, really. They both have to fire for it to work out, just because of how owned Mo Salah will be and captained in the early game weeks. It is a risk, but it is definitely one that could pay off. You're just really going to have to be looking away at Liverpool games, and every time they get a penalty, hope he misses. But it's just, it's a risk I'm not taking. I'd try and find a bit of cash and just pick one of Kane or Haaland and get Salah in. But, the team does look really nice. I won't lie without him, but then you realise you don't have Mo Salah and then it doesn't. So, look, it's a risk, but it's actually not one I totally hate. It's just not something I'm going to be going with for my team. Then we've got Big Danny De Silva. He's got, again, the 5-3-2. Got a few different picks here. So I do know this man personally, and he is a United fanboy, and there will be a few of you out there. So he's got a couple of them in there. But, hey, a lot of people like playing the game for fun, and owning some of your own players is actually always just a way to make it more enjoyable. But I don't totally hate the picks he's going with. Like, Dallo is probably one I would avoid. I just want to see what the United defence would do first. But Sancho in that position, him or a Rashford, I can get around. They look a lot better in pre-season attacking. Of course, the only thing is there's no Ronaldo. There wasn't, and there's no Eriksen yet in those pre-season games. And it's just a bit hard to know how they're going to set up, who gets the most minutes, whatnot. I think Sancho's the best if you're going for minutes. He pretty much has to play. The price tag they paid for him, he's looking really good. When I compare that to Rashford and Martial, Rashford, it only takes a poor game or two. Elanga's there behind him, and then Martial, he's just, if Ronaldo stays, he's fighting with him for a position up front. So I do like Sancho as the most for minutes locked in. And then Dallo, maybe I probably wouldn't touch the defence right now or yet until we see how they go. And then I've already spoken about Trippier. Rest of the teams, solid. The 5-3-2 I like. It's just, those couple of United picks, but I know Danny, he's going to want to go with them. So, overall, I think the team's good. Who we got next? We got Klopp. Big Kloppy. Going really well in Supercoach, mate. So, congrats on that. You'll be storming home, mate. And then his FPL team we've got here, I don't know how I noticed that first, but he's got Sanchez on the bench, so he's got a couple of keepers to rotate with. I don't always love that. I think if you got Mendy, you're going to want to play Mendy most games, who might be projecting forward to that Spurs game in week 2. I don't know who Brighton have, but maybe swapping and rotating him for game week 2. But I guess if you don't have any better use for that 0.5, it's not the worst idea. And then he's got the triple Chelsea. So interesting, not something I see a hell of a lot, and probably not something I endorse myself. So I would err on the side of just going. If you want to go double, I would just go the 2 wing backs. And look, they haven't looked too great, Chelsea. There's still a lot of players missing. They haven't been, new players haven't been integrated into the team yet. This, Tuchel was still playing a couple of those old boys like Azpilicueta and stuff who, and Alonso, who they thought they were leaving the club. But I want to see more and just probably want to know more of what Chelsea are doing in the next couple of weeks. But for me, triple up's not the way. It's not something I would want to do. But if you want to go with the Kloppy, mate, but by all means. And then the rest of the picks I like Neto. He's shown a bit in pre-season. Bailey, of course, if he gets up and can get himself into that starting 11. I like him for the early game weeks. And then there's not really much else to talk about. You got Cancelo, you got the Hayne versus Cullen thing in your head probably, but for right now you've got Haaland. So, I like it, mate. Just something I wouldn't personally do as a triple Chelsea, but if you're confident in them to do well this year, then by all means. And obviously the wing backs, Chilwell and James, they get attacking returns more than clean sheets anyway, or that's their upside, I should say. So overall, good team. Next we got, what do we got? Kata. He's got just general feedback on his squad. Any players you wouldn't start or cheaper players you think will get a start and get solid minutes. So what's he got? He's got the 4-4-2 as well. There's seen that a bit as well. So it's pretty much we've seen the 4-4-2 or the 5-3-2 a lot. There's nothing here. I can see that we're different. You've even got Tomiyasu on the bench, who we'll have to wait and see what his fitness is like heading into the season. He's currently got a knock, so I think it's a hamstring. And Arteta said he's still battling to get ready, so maybe you change it to someone else. But the fact you've got a 4.5 defender on the bench as cover is good. Matty Cash I really like for the opening 2 or 3 game weeks, but then Villa's fixtures get a bit tougher after that. But that's fine. You could maybe switch to a Zinchenko or something like then at that stage, provided you don't have 3 Arsenal already, of course. And then you've got Cancelo, you got Trent, you got Salah. So you've gone with the Luis Diaz over Robbo, which is something I'll ask everyone watching. Comment below. Who are you going with? What team are you on? Your team Robbo? Because obviously we're assuming everyone's tripling up on Liverpool. Are you team Robbo or are you team Luis Diaz? Luis Diaz fit in seamlessly last year. Wasn't the greatest FPL pick as far as points. I mean, he did get quite a few points, but not as many as you would have thought with it was just how good he was, to be honest. So maybe he's one of those guys where he's really good for football, really good for the team, but not always getting on the end and getting the goals and getting the assists. But I personally like Robbo. I just think he's not only safer, but just more solid. Even I think has more upside, especially as a defender. And he's $1 million. He's $1 million cheaper. So for me, I'm team Robbo. I can see Luis Diaz working. He's playing in front 3 at Liverpool is always nice. So he can definitely go well. But back to Catter's team, I think it's totally solid. There's nothing really I can see here that I don't like. Double Arsenal attack, triple Liverpool. Maybe you could say just the one City player is a bit, a bit of a concern considering they're the best team in the league. But as I said before, it's hard to know with Pep, with City, what's going on. Who's playing week to week. So that's why I said that Edison strategy I don't mind, and I'm leaning towards where you just pick him and then get a look at the landscape, see who Pep's picking. Is Mahrez more nailed? Is it Foden? Blah blah blah. But yeah, for now, I think there's really no weaknesses here, and Matty Cash here might just have to book in a transfer in a few game weeks, 2, 3, 4, depending on how they go. Just because I think it gets quite tough later on. Few to go. We've got Kelly here, who's got something I haven't seen too much of, and that's the 3-5-2. So only 3 defenders. Trent, Cancelo, I think if you're doing that, definites there. And then Dallo, we see him again. 5 midfielders. So he's got 2 of the more cheaper guys in Martinelli and Neto. Salah, of course, and then 2 8 million mids, along with the Haaland and Jesus that we see a lot. So I think first off, a positive here of this structure is getting 2 of those defenders at 4 million that will be playing options on your bench. So depth is always good. It was really important last year. I just don't think it's as important early, straight away. Could argue here that he does have picks like Mahrez. Even I guess you could say, even Neto. Wolves attackers, as I've read, are not nailed. At a fully fit squad, they do get rotated from time to time. So you could argue having depth from the off is actually pretty good for picks like those. And then you get 2 8 million mids, so you get a crack at 2 of them, which I early on did like and was trying to go for, but I just, the value in defence has sort of won me over. But individually, all these picks I really don't hate. I guess Dallo, as I said before, is one that while he is quite attacking, it's not the United defence. I don't want to invest in straight away. It's something I'd just prefer to see how they go from the off, and then happy to. I think I've got that probably mentality for most of their players. See how they go with the new coach, with Ten Hag. See how they play, and then I'm happy to jump on the first wild card. Or even early transfers if they look really good. But other than that, you don't see too much of this type of formation, but it does, as I said, give you depth. He's got Sanchez in goal as his 4.5 keeper of choice, which, again, he could be the one that just we end up defaulting to as the best 4.5. Brighton are obviously or usually pretty tight in defence. Graham Potter teams are pretty good at keeping it that way. So, totally understand and get the picks here. It's just not a formation you see too much, so I guess it sort of throws you off a bit when you do see it. But picks in general, absolutely nothing wrong with them. What have we got here? Another 4-4-2. I think I threw this one in because it's got just a couple of different picks to talk about. Firstly, off Alisson in goal. just not something I'm doing as your third Liverpool player. They've got 4 really good outfield options. Obviously, Salah and Trent you've got. I think you've got to pick a third, either Robbo or Diaz, and just go for a different keeper. So that's number one. You can even, he's got Sanchez on the bench. So when you pick a premium keeper like an Alisson, like an Edison, don't bother at all with picking up or picking a backup 4.5 option on the bench. Save your 4.5 and just pick a 4 million and spread that somewhere else across the team. I think, look, it is differential. We've got the Grealish and we've got Odegaard. So, Grealish could end up being a really good pick this year. He could play a lot more minutes. I owned him early last year and he played quite a bit early and then sort of fell out of favour a bit with Pep. They've sold a couple of those wide players, albeit on the other side, but he might feature a lot more this year. Odegaard's the one I just think isn't really an FPL pick. Kind of like how I was speaking about Diaz before from Liverpool, but even lesser so. He just, to me, watching Arsenal, he always seems like the player. He scored yesterday in the preseason, so it sounds like bad timing, but he always that player that opens up play and ends up being the pass to the assist to the goal. Like, it's just the guy that doesn't get the FPL points, but is an absolute talisman in opening up play. So those guys just don't get rewarded. It's a simple game, FPL, which I guess sometimes can be annoying, but sometimes it's just the way it is and makes it a bit easier to read, where if you're not getting the assist or the goal, you're just not an FPL option. And I think Odegaard's always that guy that, as I said, he's just the build-up play. He's not that final player where, especially now we got Jesus. It's going to be Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, and, Odegaard might get his assists here and there. I just don't think it's going to warrant enough to be an FPL selection, and Martinelli's cheaper than him. Actually, I think they might even be 6 million each, but I just think Martinelli's a better option. So here, if you could figure it out, I'd drop Sanchez down to a 4 million. I'd pick Edison over Alisson, and I'd switch try and get Odegaard to Martinelli, and maybe go Grealish to Diaz, Luis Diaz, and that. If you can figure that out, I'm not sure. I think the money might work for that. I think I'd like it a hell of a lot better. Of course, it's more template and boring, but I think just stress for the start of FPL, you just go template, and then we're going to be wildcarding early, and you can go for your differential picks then. So I've already gone for quite a bit. I'll try and speed up the last few. We've got another team with Alisson. Didn't see that one. Tomiyasu, I've spoke about, is injured at the moment, so I would just keep an eye on that. But I think I picked this one for another United bit of spice, and he's got Rashford and Martial. I would definitely not be going both of those guys. I'd pick one, and for me, it would be Rashford. He's cheaper. Martial, whilst he's looked really good, still has Ronaldo to deal with if he sticks around. And I think Rashford would be the better option there. The rest of the team, can't hate it at all. Alisson, I just wouldn't go. I'd try and get a third Liverpool elsewhere, whether that's Robbo, whether that's Diaz. I would do that. I'm not too sure how much Burmo is on your bench in bench one, but maybe you can steal some cash out of him and get him up, or help use him to help get up to a third Liverpool that is an Alisson. So that's what I do there. Riley Payne, big Riley Payne. This man was leading the FTTV league for much of last year. I was battling with him till he went missing, I think, a bit. Must have forgot about it and dropped off quite a bit, but he's back. He's sent in his team, so he's got the 4-4-2. He's got. See, this is maybe comparing to the last team, something I would more lean towards, where you got Robbo, Trent, Salah. You've got just Rashford, not him, and Martial. You've got Jesus, and then you've got other good picks like Saka and Neto and Harry Kane, where you can debate with him or Haaland. So this team and setup, I would probably almost say the one before, whoever that was, I forgot your name, sorry, to switch over and probably transfer to something close to this. You obviously picks you can like the keeper and whatnot, 8 mil mid. You can make your own choice there, but I think this is something I would go closer towards. So like that one from you, Painters. Two more. Love some feedback. This is from Dynamite Dons from Big Kyle. So he's got, again, 4-4-2. Looks solid. He's got Sancho, who is another, as I said, I do like him as the most set for minutes at United. I'm just really hesitant going with any of their players from the get-go, but it could pay off. They have pretty decent fixtures until Liverpool, I think, is it game week 3 or 4, forget. But the rest of these picks, I like. I mean, no Cancelo is just always something I notice. He's got Zinchenko on the bench as obviously really good backup. So this is quite a deep team. I guess you play Bailey, against Bournemouth in Villa's first 2 really good fixtures. Then you get Zinchenko on after that. And it probably works with Trippier as well, actually, when Newcastle have some bad fixtures. So I think, you've probably planned that out well to where you can rotate those. I just think with picks maybe like Mahrez, where you might, and even Bailey himself might have to call upon the bench. Maybe the rotation is nice in theory, but it might end up not really working out too well anyway. But overall, I do like the team. I do like a bit of differential in here. Cancelo, I'd love that to be instead of Diaz, but obviously money, hard to make it work. So maybe you go for Rashford instead. But as I said before, obviously I think Sancho is a lot more locked in for minutes. So overall I don't mind it at all. A little bit different. So good luck for the season. And then final one, we've got Lienza, who he said it's Jordan's team, and another 4-4-2 with a couple of Chelsea defenders in there, Foden, Bailey, Rashford. One we've seen a little bit of recently, just a couple of different picks with obviously your 8 mil mid could be anyone. Foden we haven't quite seen yet in pre-season. So I would like to get something out of him, because myself I would like to pick him, but would need to be confident he's going to play early. And then we've spoken about Rashford and a lot of others there. So the 4-4-2, as I said earlier, I do like, just because of that flexibility it gives you and depth with having Nico Williams on the bench. So for picks like Foden, it does give you that opportunity to have cover if they miss for whatever reason. So overall, I think I've done that. Well, it's about half an hour. Bit more than I expected, but there's a lot of replies on Twitter, so thanks for replying. I will get to you guys just with a little comment on there, the ones I didn't just review in here. So I will do a third one of these, a final one next week before the week leading up to the season beginning. Be sure to join the league. It's a really big league. There's a lot of people in there, so hey, maybe I do a prize for whoever gets up and wins that one. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, if you're a new viewer. And then, follow me on Twitter, and I'll probably do this again next week. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Got the mojo deals, we been tripping like pulling out the coupe at the lot.